To the housing market and real estate, we are waiting on the January pending home sales report out later this morning. 2015 was a strong year for housing, certainly. But my next guest says markets are cooling off now. We want to bring in Elliman Broker Chris Leavitt, always with his finger on the pulse of things. Good to see you, Chris.
Good to see you, too.
How do you characterize? I mean, and look, this is local. You've got to go through different markets. I know you're very big in Florida.
Yes.
So how would you characterize, for example, Florida and New York right now?
I would say patchy. Certain areas of the market are doing really, really well, and others are not. You know, downtown Miami has a huge amount of supply, so things are cooling off a bit there. But on the beach, it's very, very scarce. You know, the really high-end, perfect product, very little to choose from.
Yeah.
Are you finding that the turmoil in Brazil, Argentina, is that starting to impact your market?
Absolutely. You know, the real is worth 25 cents to the dollar, or 25 cents to a real, and that's impacting tremendously. So that's a huge pool of buyers that have really left the market. Some are coming in and preserving capital and finding a safe haven for their money, but typically the Brazilian market has pulled out dramatically from Miami.
So my question is, how are people buying? I mean, you typically think of people going out getting a loan. Who's buying? How are they buying?
Right.
That tells you something about what's available.
Right. So 3/4 of the transactions last year were all cash.
Wow,
in Miami.
3/4.
Yeah.
In the condo market and half in the single housing
How does
market.
that compare with 2006, 2007?
You know, people were leveraging their money, putting 5% down and speculating. Miami was a whole different market back then. It was a place to invest, to sort of park your money, and now it's a place to live, to enjoy.
Which is actually positive. I mean, it's smart.
It is.
Well, it's smart.
A positive.
It's smart if you think that housing is overvalued and you've only got 5% of your skin in the game. Like people talk about making stupid decisions.
I mean, balance sheets are much stronger, and that's a big positive for this economy. Even if we were to see a big, sell-off, you've got much stronger balance sheets, giving people the ability to have some wiggle room.
Sure, there's 40% down minimum on these new construction projects, and the construction loans for the developer are extremely tight. So it's a strong, market should something change. We're not going to fall like we did back then.
You do work here in New York. New York
do.
is also at the high end looking very, very soft in terms of pricing because of the additional supply coming on the market. Same story, similar story.
There's a lot of properties that are on the market. There are very few that are in the market.
Is it high-end or middle or what?
Super high-end. I'm saying you can put an apartment on the market for $55 million. That doesn't mean it's going to sell. So there's a lot of those properties that are just out there on the market, and I think that sellers need to get more realistic right now to see the gap, from market to what they're thinking their value is.
Which brings up the question then, what's moving? And get outside of Miami, New York, Los Angeles, the top 25 cities. Look at the Kansas cities, the Salt Lake cities. What's moving out there?
Well, what's moving are things that are priced properly in cities where the job markets are great, where, the hot cities right now, San Francisco, places where millennials are going in droves to work and to live.
Does this tell you anything about where we are markets-wise in terms of real estate?
I'm curious about the expectation of sellers. Are they delusional about what they think they can get for their properties?
They were up until very recently, and I think that's changing. And I think that they're realizing that it's not 2013 and 14, and you can't sell something, for double that you paid a year and a half ago. So they're becoming more realistic, which is good. And transactions are happening, especially for me now, thank God. And Palm Beach is on fire. Miami's doing well, but Palm Beach is really a town that's going on fire right now.
Do you see construction slowing significantly with the supply coming on?
A little bit. Absolutely. Definitely.
Got to do something with all that supply, otherwise it's going to hurt pricing.
Absolutely.
Chris, good to see you.
Great to see you.
Thanks so much, Chris Leavitt, joining us there from Elliman. Up next.